Hello, 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 and welcome. Dawn Butler here of Dinkydoodle Designs, and if this is the first car cake tutorial that you've seen, then where have you been? But welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to take you through how to make a classic roadster convertible. So, this is the kit. Let's take a look at it if you've never seen one already. Here it is, and it comes basically with the base, two axles. They're usually labelled front and rear, which these are, because they're ever so slightly different in measurement according to the blueprints that we buy a license for. And also you get 4 wheels. So your car is also labelled front and rear. So push those in place like so. And that's that. And there is your stand already built. Okay. Your wheels are going to slot into place, but we won't worry about those just yet because we don't need them just yet. We're going to add some cake, and then we're going to use our carving templates to get the shape right. So let's look at adding some cake. So that's one layer on, okay? But for the second layer, we don't want to cut the whole thing again, do we? Because actually we're missing the middle, yeah? So what I'm going to cut is the back shape. So I essentially use this piece of plastic and just cut a line here and then cut the whole piece. We need some filling, obviously. And if we take a look at putting our sides on, can you see how small the cake is? It's quite small, isn't it? It's only kind of 3 inches or so. So when we come to fill it, we don't really want to make this any taller because things are going to come off it. So we'll get ready for filling. You've got the middle template, okay? I'm just going to place this in the gap. Can you see it's gone in the gap? And that allows me to now remove this and know where to cut. Okay? Just dig down with a spoon, like so. And what that does is create a little crevice. And you'll see in a minute what I mean. So I'm not going all the way down. But just created, can you see, 2 little pockets. And that's going to allow me to put filling in. Still get filling and a nice sort of slice of cake, but without changing the height too much. So I always try and fill my cakes from a piping bag, because that way you get a nice, even and consistent fill. Now then, should be shorter one at the back. I was just seeing which way around it went. That way, I think. And there we go, leaving our space in the middle. Now then, we basically need to put our template on, like so. Right, got this the wrong way around, honestly. So it should line up, look, can you see? So it lines up with the back of the car and the front of the car. If you had it like I had it, it was the other way around, look. You see how it's sticking out one end, so you know then it's kind of the wrong way around. So they're secured onto the wheel slots, and then also with the barbecue skewer holes, basically, making it a little easier. Now, depending on how deep this bottom cake is when you bake it, depends on the height of everything and how you're going to end up carving, or how much you're going to carve off. What I don't want to do really is just end up with one piece of cake. So I may use a little poetic justice and come a little taller than we need to, just to ensure that we've still got cake, basically. But I'm following those same lines. There we go. So as I said, following the same line as what's on the template, but I'm just coming a touch above it. That may not be necessary for you at all if your cake isn't as deep as this one. So we've put our template on the top, of course just lining up the middle basically, back with the other, making sure that it's straight on there. Now, I'm only going to use this as a guide. I've gone back to a smaller knife, by the way, which of course is in Barbie pink. And I'm just using that as a guide, look, and cutting down, because actually it's this then that wants to come out. So again, use it as a mark, cut, just take a nick out of that line whilst you can still see it, so that you don't forget where it is. So same thing, line and just come to it diagonally so that you can just see where it is, and then it reminds you, okay? Same at the back, so a line and just nick out, and it just helps us know where that is, okay? Flip this car ever so slightly. Can you see this bottom shape? Yeah, can you see the wood is not the same shape as the cake, because I just carved the cake in a rectangle, didn't I, when I cut it to put it on? But we're aiming to find this shape. So when I'm cutting and trimming, that's what I'm feeling for, is that wood. And I'm just running my knife around the edge. And that shape should match that template that we've just done. For those sides. Meaning that we can easily now slope the back. Can you see what I mean? The front grille, basically, we've got the same shape to deal with at the front. So the wood I need to follow in, just like before. So I'm going to trim across the front of that, gently following the wood. Be careful if you've got a sharp knife that you don't start hacking at your kit. Down. So once you've found the front and where that needs to go, then this can come off. Okay, so I'm happy with the initial shape, basically. I want to get it ganashed now so that I can really see what needs changing, adding to, taking away from. Quite often you just can't see it until it's a ganashed smooth surface, particularly when it's chocolate cake. So let me get this ganashed up and see you in a bit. Now, ganashing, when you're ganashing a cake, if you've not used ganache often, it needs to be that kind of consistency of Nutella or peanut butter, so that you can spread it on without breaking the cake up, and that it also covers all of the crumbs on the cake, basically. Notice I've not taken out the wheel arches just yet. Not necessary at the moment. When we're ready and that we've dealt with the rest of the shape, we can then cut those out and there'll be far much more support for them. Just slotting the wheel in place using as sharp a knife as you have. Just cut round the wheel. Now you're going to need to go bigger than this because it's got a tyre on it, but it's going to give us an idea, isn't it, to begin with. Now I'm going to cover them in the size that they are, but when we then go to put the wheels on, we'll re-trim it, and don't worry that you're trimming more out after you've covered it. It's absolutely fine. It only doesn't work when you have a vehicle where the wheel is in and then the car goes over the top of the wheel. We've not got that in this case, so it's fine. So I'm going to be getting ready to smooth off. What am I making sure of? I'm making sure that they're a nice curved point, that's all nice and smooth, that our doorways are straight, that this between here and here is really straight and level on the top, that I've got a nice curve in here, that these are straight, that my panels and sides are nice and straight, and that the front is straight, ready to kind of pop the lights in. Let's take a look then at covering the inside. So I'm just lifting the edge of the sugar paste to make sure it goes down inside all the shape, and making sure that every time I've kind of touch the cake and take my fingers off, that I make sure the fingers are clean before you put them back in. So, nice sharp knife. We're going to go along the line of the bonnet, just cutting really, probably centimetre, half a centimetre beyond where it needs to be. Right, I'm just going to run my fingers together along the top of the, where the sort of car meets the windshield. So 2 fingers together, you gently kind of pinch, not enough that you're squeezing and putting a big mark in, but it's enough to just kind of give that a bit of a straight edge. Now then, we can either cut off, which is fine, but we don't quite know where it's going, or take your smoothers and just smooth them down. And again, when you then smooth off and you've touched ganache, wipe it clean. I've got some white sugar paste. I have mixed it with a touch of Pro-Gel Pink. Literally, I must have kilo and a half here, and I just dabbed it with the open end because I didn't want it too dark, which can very easily be done. I've got an air bubble at the front that I don't like, so I'm trying to keep that off the project. Also managed to get a blue streak and was hoping I could get that where I was going to cut it out, which we've managed to do. Sharp knife into the middle. My knife was going this way instead of straight down, so that didn't cut the inside of the car that we've just covered. We'll just take a little more out so that we can see what we're doing. I've got a raggedy edge going on here. You probably can't see this. I'm going to just lift up. And once I've lifted and I know it's not touching the cake, I can tuck it under. Now, the bonnet line, the boot line at the back has 2 lines coming down and this bottom line, but the 2 lines coming down are a little in from this. So because we've kind of covered everything and made it a bit fatter, I wouldn't draw around the whole thing, and here's what I mean. What I'm going to do is that lined up quite nicely. That is going to give me a really nice even shape for the bottom, but I've left it short on either side. So this is something that you need to do sooner rather than later, because it'll elephant skin and you're then going to try and mark it. So I'm now using the side templates to put them where I need them. I'm not going all the way up to the top just yet because I'm not actually sure that it does go all the way up. I've got grey here, tiny amount of black into quite a bit of white. I think this is modelling chocolate. I usually just basically have grey on the go all the time. And I'm thinning this sausage out at the ends, and it's the end that I want to use. So for starters, at the back, It starts at the bottom and comes up. And then the other end that I've thinned, I'm going to do exactly the same with that. So stuck to the bottom. No glue, you'll notice. I just don't like the messy marks it can give. Generally find that that's enough. So I need more of the thin lines at the end. So just re-rolling the sausage at either end, basically. And we've got this narrow sausage to do now for several bits. So we're going to go round here and round the white, and then we've got two pieces just like the back that are going to go up here. Okay. So wheels. I've got some black. This is actually black modelling chocolate, but it could be sugar paste, doesn't matter in the slightest. I'm just putting a little bit of tracks around the outside. And I'm going to cover over in black. Just cut a little bit bigger than you need to. Scoop it over. Curl it round. Be careful not to dint in here. We still need that covered over at the front. And I'm just trimming off. Again, only cutting when I go inwards. Then I've got a circle cutter, and the reason I chose this particular one was that it was smaller than the etch lines that are around there. If you can see those etch lines, it's smaller than that, just a little bit. So, kind of find the middle-ish, cut down, give it a twizzle, and then you should be able to pick it out. Once you've picked it out, you can then put your cutter back in and just gently push it out until it's even at either side and that you've found the edge of the markings. Because it's a white wall tire, I'm actually just going to paint some white. So, giving myself a surface. This is just, you could use a white edible pen. This is just Fractal Flow-Air white. So once you've done the white, switch out, and then I've got some, this is just my Dinkydoodle silver dust. This one's the pewter. So take out the little tray, put some dust in there, and then either clear alcohol or dipping solution. Ideally then let these go hard. But we've now got an accurate wheel size. So when we push this up to here, it's going to really kind of allow me to see where to cut. Don't forget it was a sweeping line, wasn't it? So there's my line. I now need to come a little outside of that. Doesn't matter if you cut through cake. which invariably you will because you're going larger than you had done before. But what's essential is that it's a sharp knife. Whilst I've got my silver paint out, by the way, I shall be painting over all of this little trim. So anything that's grey will get the silver paint kind of on it and stuff.